Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesigntechtips.com. Well, we're looking at the awesome call to action module today. It's a fantastic little module for taking people where you want to take them when they visit your site, because it includes a call to action button, as you can see there. This is another in our series of Divi for Beginners videos, and you can find the playlist for those videos just down below this video here. Okay. Well, all of these are call to action. We've got a regular call to action here, just got a little button there. Next door, we've got one that's an image. When we hover over, call to action is going to appear. Down here, as you can see, we've got one that's inline. And up on the left-hand side, we've got one in fixed position here. It's going to stay there when we roll down the site. And I've got it linked to a little info section here with an address and things. Really easy to do, so let's get started. I'm going to enable the visual builder. Once enabled, let's go down. I'll start a new section, little blue button for a new section. I'm going to use a regular section. I'm going to throw a couple of columns in my first row there. I'm going to delete this section at the top. Great. Well, here's our new section. Inside we've got this row with 2 columns. I'm going to add a call to action module, funnily enough. And there it is. Looks pretty much like a sort of text type module, and it is. You got the opportunity to put a title in there. You've got what you want your button to say right here. You may have noticed there's not a button, or you may not have noticed because there's not a button. Before the buttons are going to show up, if I just roll down a little bit, you're going to have to put a link for it in here. And down in the link, and this is always under content in every module, you'll be able to link the whole module here. So anywhere they go on, click on this module will take them to this link. With a call to action, you've got a separate one for your button as well. So as soon as you put a link in here, that button's going to show up, as you can see there. Okay, let's go back up to our text. And if we roll down further, we've got a little body text or body content section right there. And it's a regular WYSIWYG section. You can align it how you want, bold, italicize, make bullet lists, make headings if you want to, add pictures, media if you want to also. I'm going to leave mine just as it is. Next down, we've got all the background options. That's the default color when it loads. And if you haven't changed it, this is actually the default accent color of your site, and you can change that in your customizer. Well, let's make it a little bit more interesting. Once we're in the background, we've got background color, gradient, background image, video, pattern, or mask. Check out our backgrounds video in the playlist below. You can do some crazy things with this. I'm going to just throw in a background gradient there. I'm going to hit the plus. By default, it sort of puts in the blue and green. I'm going to click on that green. I'm going to make it the default blue. I'm going to drag it down so it's a little bit darker, I believe. Something like that. If you want to add more stops to your gradient, just roll along the bar till you see a little plus sign like that. Go to where you want to put it. Click on it. You've added a new stop. Let's just change that color a little bit by double clicking on it. And we'll make that nice and dark. And that's a nice little gradient in the background there. Obviously play with it, get it how you want yours. Now the reason my button itself is orange like that, that's the way I've got it set up in my customizer. And again, if you don't know how to do that, check it out in the playlist below. But you can customize the button in any module any way you like, either by going over to the Design tab, or if I roll over it, you'll see that it's got a little paintbrush with a little box around it. And that's common for all the elements within a module. If you click on that little paintbrush, it'll take you straight to the design for that particular item, in our case, the button. If you want to change it, say, I want to use custom styles for the button. I'm going to leave the text size just as it is. Text color is fine. I'm actually going to take that button background away by putting a transparent in there. And when we roll down, I'm going to give it a little border. To give it a border, just go to button border width down here. Increment up until the border's the size you want it. 2 pixels. And white is absolutely fine for me. But when they hover over it, I want that to change color, and we'll use that default orange we've been using. Now, common to all Divi modules, If you roll over the dart writing within a module, you'll see some little icons turn up. Go to the thing that you want to affect, in my case this border color here. If there's a little arrow, click on it. It'll bring up 2 tabs and we can create a hover state. Desktop is when your mouse is not on it. Hover, if I click on that, obviously is when the mouse is on it, and then you have completely different values for each of those. So when they hover on it, I'm going to have that border turn orange. I'm going to do the same for the text above. If I roll back up to the text color, button text color, again, roll over, get the little arrow up. Make sure you remember to do this. And when we hover on it, I'm going to turn that text that same color. That's great. Okay, I'm going to flip it back to desktop. And of course, while we're in the design, you've got all the regular styling options you do on any other module. I'm not going to go too mad with this one today. While we're in the button, I'll give it a little bit more padding either side. Let's perhaps give it 50, let's even give it 60 pixels left, and hit the chain, it'll do the right. Makes that button a little bit bigger. Great. Well, rolling on down. Sizing, I'm not going to use that today. Spacing, I'm happy with the padding that's around it, and I don't want to move it with any margins, so I'm going to skip that today. Border-wise, well, I don't want to put a border on it, but we've been using a kind of 10 pixel rounded corners on most of the things on this site, so I'll continue with that by simply putting a 10 in there. It'll put the pixels in for you. As long as you've got that chain checked, it'll do all 4 at once. If you uncheck it, you can put different values in each one and come up with some crazy shapes. Great. Well, I'm fairly happy with that. I'm just going to finish off, as it's a nice bright background. I'm going to just throw a little bit of box shadow on the bottom. Fantastic. Well, we've actually completed our first call to action module. Now, of course, we didn't put a real link in there, but if you wanted to link it to something, let's perhaps link it to this little section down here. I know this section's got a CSS ID, and if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll go into this section. If we go over to Advanced, it's always where you find CSS IDs and classes. This has got a CSS ID of contact. Now, you can call anything you want, but you want to make sure it's unique. You don't want to have 2 of the same, especially on the same page. So I'm going to copy that. And if we go back up to our call to action there, let's link that button to that section. Simply go back in there. You know where the link is. That's right, content. Now, as it's a CSS ID, CSS IDs always have to have a hashtag in front of them, then the CSS ID name. So I can just paste that name after our little hashtag there. Great. That is now linking to this section. I don't think it's going to work on the back end here, but it will on the front end. Okay, well, there's our first little example of a call to action. That's a pretty basic one, and you see these a lot. But you can get stylish with it, and you can do all kinds of things. I think the other one, we had a hover effect. So let's do that. I'm just going to copy this particular one by hitting the 2 little squares. I'm going to drag one over to this next door column right here. Now, this is a very simple no coding hover effect, but it's a nice little eye-catching thing to see. So what we can do to have an image here, and then when they hover on the image, have this fade in, really easy. What we'll do is go into the row, the green tab for a row. There's our 2 columns. We're working on the right-hand column, which is column 2 here. I've clicked on it. Background is always under content. I'm going to go to background. I'm going to go over to image, and we'll select an image. Let's put that little happy chappy in right there. Now, of course, you can't see it because it's behind our module. And you may have noticed, because our module's got rounded corners, our image is just poking out in the corners there. So to match the image with our module here, we can go over to design and down to border and match the border radius, which was 10 pixels. And as you can see, or again, as you can't see because they're gone, they're gone. Great. But of course, we can still see this, and we want to see the image first. So let's save our column settings. That will take us back to the main row. We'll save that. We'll go back into this little module. Now, to make the magic happen, let's go over to design, and we'll roll down to filters. And we've demonstrated this on previous videos with other modules. If we roll down here, filters are amazing things, but the one we're using today is opacity. If I slide this all the way down, you'll see that that picture appears. And you can have it halfway if you want a bit of both. And as you can see, as I'm sliding it up the other way, it gets full again. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll over that dark writing. I'm going to hit the little arrow. Now we want to see the image first. So on desktop, when the mouse is not on it, I'm going to pull that slider all the way down to the left. So all we've got is the image. Then when you hover over it, I want to bring back the call to action so they can read it and click on the button. Now the time it takes by default to get from desktop to hover state is 300 milliseconds. That's pretty quick. I like to slow it down for a little bit of drama, but that's entirely up to you. And again, if we go over to the Advanced tab, and again with all modules, this is where you'll find transitions down the bottom here. Here's the transition duration. There's your default 300 mils. I'm going to double it. I think take it up to about 6. Now you can type in a value. You can use the slider. You can also increment up and down with the little arrows on the side there. Don't want any delay. Want it to happen as soon as they put their mouse on it. And the transition speed curve I usually use for my hover effects is ease in, ease out. They're all fairly similar, but some will actually work a lot better than others in certain situations. So do play with them. That's my little go-to there. Let's just flip this thing back to regular state. For go anywhere you want, hover over any of the dark writing, pull the little arrow up. You can see we're on hover state. I'm going to flip it back to desktop. Okay, well I'm happy with that one. Okay, well say you wanted to have the button on the right and this inline. Well, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it with a separate text module and button in a row that looks something like this. But I'm going to chuck the whole thing in a single column. So I've added a new row with a single column in it. I'm not going to add a new one. I'm just going to duplicate this one again as we've got that styling on there. I'm going to hit the little 2 squares to duplicate again. I'm going to drag this one down in the row. Left click, drag, release your left mouse button. It'll pop it in there for you. I mean, that's pretty nice. But I'd kind of like to have the button on this side. So this is slightly more than beginner's stuff right here. We're taking it into the realms of mediocre and advanced because I'm going to add a quick line of CSS code, but it's really simple and I'll put the code down below the video for anybody that wants to use it. So to get this in line, I'm going to go into the module itself. I'm going to go over to my advanced. We're going to skip CSS IDs and classes. We're going to go down to custom CSS. Now they've just added a free form a few months ago, which is awesome for complex CSS. We're actually going to go over to the next tab, module elements. I'm going to roll down to the main element. And I'm going to write the word display, colon, flex, F-L-E-X, semicolon. And as you might have noticed, that is now stretched out along here. But that button's kind of not very central. Writing's not too bad. I think it's a little higher. I think there's more space on the bottom than there is on the top there. And I want everything to be aligned centrally in there. So let's just add another little line of code here. And I'm going to say align, A-L-I-G-N, dash items, I-T-E-M-S, colon. And I'm going to say center, C-E-N-T-E-R, semicolon. Always chuck a semicolon on the end. If you don't, it won't recognize the next line of code. Okay, well that worked. They're both in the middle there. We've got common space there. Fantastic. But I want to align my text left. Maybe give it a little gap over here. And I'm not sure I like that button being in 2 lines like that, but that's entirely up to you. I'll show you how to fix all of that. While we're in the advanced and the custom CSS, let's roll down. We should find a box called promo button. There it is right there. I'm going to give that a fixed width, say 200 pixels. Probably won't fix it because I've got extra padding either side from when we built it up here, but I can take that away in a moment. So I'll say width, colon, I'm going to say 200 pixels, PX. And again, I'm going to throw semicolon after that. You don't actually have to if it's only one line, but it's a great habit to get into. Great, well that's made that a fixed width, but we still got too much padding either side. And we know how to adjust that, don't we? Back in design, go down to button. Or you can just click on the little paintbrush associated with it. It'll take you to the same place. Roll on down where we put that padding in left and right. There it is right there. I'm simply going to delete that. Fantastic. And while I'm here, I'm going to make sure that's aligned to the middle, because when I move that text in a moment, left, it'll move that button text to the left as well, and I don't want that. So I'm going to make sure it's aligned in the middle. So let's go back to our text now. I want to do it all at once. So I'm going to roll up to where it says text rather than body text or title text, just text on its own. I'll do both of those. I'm going to align it left. Great, that's starting to shape up a little bit. And let's just adjust that padding so we got a bit of breathing space either side. So I'm going to close up the text there. I'm going to go down to spacing. And let's say left, right. Let's give it 50 pixels. See what that looks like. 50 pixels left, 50 pixels right. Yeah, that's giving it a little bit more breathing space. And that's looking quite nice to me. Obviously, you decorate yours how you wish. It's entirely up to you. But let's just save that. That looks great on desktop. Let's have a look at it on tablet and mobile. And this is important when you do things like this, to check it on tablet and mobile. Not so important with things like this. But when you've got wide elements, it's always a good idea. So I've just clicked the purple button. It's expanded. If we look over here, we've got desktop where we are now. If I go to tablet view next door, it's going to shrink down and show us it on a tablet. That's actually not too bad. That's not too bad. But if you wanted to just display it normally, which would be stacked, top and bottom, I'll show you exactly how to do that in a moment. Let's have a look on mobile. Yeah, and that's really not going to work on mobile. It's squished right up. So let's fix that. What we can do, let's go back to desktop for this. We'll go in there, back in there, back to our advanced CSS over here. Roll down. Back to the module elements. We roll down where we put that display flex over here. I'm going to have it display stacked on tablet and mobile. I know it wasn't too bad on tablet, but I think I'd like it to be stacked on top again. So again, roll over the dark writing. You'll see some little icons appear. Make sure you choose the thing that you want to affect, the main element here. Little phone icon. We can click on that. Let's go to tablet mode. Roll on down. There it is on tablet. Like I say, that's not too bad, but it's still a little bit squished for me. So I'm going to say display block. DISPLAY colon block. BLOCK. And as you can see, that's stacked that back on top with the button in the middle. And of course, we can align this text center on tablet and mobile if you want to. I'll show you how exactly to do that. Let's click on the little phone icon there. And that's fine. It's inherited it from the tablet there, and they're stacked. Okay, well, let's say we want to have this central on mobile and tablet. Really easy. No more coding involved in this. Let's go to the design. Again, we'll go to the text where we were before. Here's the alignment. Get up our little mobile phone icon. We're on mobile at the moment. I'm going to scoot it back in the middle. That works fine. Obviously, you do what you want to do. Let's shoot it to tablet now. I'm going to scoot that back in the middle too. Fantastic. And we're all good to go with that one. So we've got that nice inline call to action there on the desktop. And we've got them stacked on tablet and mobile. Like I say, I've taken you a little bit out of the beginners for that. But just copy and paste that code down below. You can't mess up your site with CSS. If you don't like it, just delete it. It'll go back to how it was. Okay, the last little example we had was a sticky little button that we had up here, which was fixed position. So let's roll over. I'm going to duplicate this one more time. Okay, I've copied it. I'm going to go into it now. I don't want any title in this. For the button, I just really want it to say go, because we're going to link it to that section below, as you could see. Obviously, put what you want in yours. For the body, really the only thing I want it to say is contact. CONTACT. But I want that to be capitalized and perhaps a little bit bigger. Not sure about that. Let's go to it by hitting the little paintbrush. I'm going to perhaps make it semi-bold. That's not too bad. I'm going to roll down. I'm actually going to give it a bit of take shadow on the bottom there. Just gives it a slight bit more definition. But I do want it to be uppercase. So body font style, I'm going to hit the uppercase there. I think that'll do for the time being. I can always make it bigger in a minute. Now the button's way too big. We know we need to take a bit of padding away either side. Well, I think I'll take that little arrow that appears when we hover over it away also. So let's hit the little paintbrush there. First thing I want to do is take away the little icon there. So if we roll down a little bit, here's the button icon. I'm going to change show button icon from yes to no. That way when we roll over it, there's no icon. Now we need to take away a bit of that padding either side. Let's just delete the whole thing and see what happens. We got the chain checked, so it'll do both at once. That's okay. I think I need to make that a little bit smaller though. So let's go back up to the text size, which is right at the top here. I'm going to take that down. Let's try 16 pixels. Yeah, I think that's going to work. I want those two a little bit closer together. So I'm going to give it a little bit of negative margin to put it up. And I'm going to take a bit of the line height away from there. So we're in the button, so we can roll back down to our spacing where we were just now. I'm going to use margin for this. On the top, I'm going to give it a negative value. Well, I'm probably going to give it about 10 pixels. You can just type it in, or you can increment. So I'm going to put 10. It's going to push it down by 10. If I put a negative in front of it, it's going to pull it up by 10. So that's 10 pixels closer now. If we want to make it even closer still, we can go into this text, and we can reduce the line height of that content there. So let's go down the body text. There's the line height. If we reduce it, you'll see it getting a little bit closer as we reduce. Yeah, I think that's going to work for me. Well, I want slightly less space all around. I certainly don't want it as wide as this. So you're still in the design. Let's close up the body text here. We're going to go down to sizing. I'm going to give it a width of, say, I don't know, let's try 100 pixels. So I'm going to write in 100 px. Now that's squashed it all up. It's because we got padding either side. So let's roll down. We'll close up the sizing actually. Spacing's just below it. And let's take away any padding left or right and see what we've got. I'm just going to put a 0 in there. Hit the chain, it'll do the other side. That's actually not too bad. Let's take away, well, let's perhaps put 10 in the top. And also in the bottom. Obviously adjust this to your taste. I don't think that's going to be enough top and bottom. Let's make that 25. Obviously adjust it till it works for you. Great, well that works for me. We've got everything going on. But of course I don't want this here in the page. I want it to stick up here somewhere, or wherever you want to put yours, and when they roll down the site, I want it to remain there at all times so that they can always click on it and get to the contact, or wherever you want to take your visitors. Very easy to do. And we've touched on this in a few other videos. Over in Advanced, roll down, you'll find Position. It's on the default, as default, funnily enough. If you click on that, we've got Relative, Absolute, and Fixed. And we've covered most of these in other videos. If you click on Fixed, it's going to disappear. Well, it hasn't actually disappeared. It's up under our little menu bar there, the header. As you can see, the bottom of it's sticking out there. So we want to put it where we want to put it. Now you've got a little matrix here. If you click on that one, it'll be in the middle. That one is down here. You get the idea. You can roll it around anywhere on your site that you want it. I'm going to put it back in that top left corner. If I roll down a little bit, we've got vertical offset here. I'm going to bring it down to where I want it at all times. Something like that. And again, you can fine tune with the little arrows there. I want it to be a little bit off that side there. So I'm going to increment up a couple pixels to take it off the side there. Now, if we roll down the page, that's great. Now for when it's on dark sections, I wouldn't mind putting a little white border around there so it stands out a little bit more, but again, that's entirely up to you. Once we've done that, I think we're done. Now, if you have a problem and you're rolling down and suddenly that disappears behind a section, whatever it's disappearing behind, give it a Z index. Let's say give this 100. If it's disappearing behind this section here, go into the section, give it any number that is less than 100. The way Z index works is the higher number will always appear on top. So that should fix that problem. So to finish off, I'm just going to put a little white border around there and we're good to go. Roll down. There's the border. Roll down a little bit more. I'm going to do it on all sides. I'm going to give it 1 pixel. I'm going to make it white. That's going to work for me. Fantastic. Well, let's save what we've got here. Make sure your little purple button's expanded down here. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the Visual Builder. So there we go. We've got our little regular call to action right here. We've got an image that's going to turn into a call to action right there. And we've got our inline one here that's going to change to stacked on tablet and mobile right here. And they're all linked to that little section below right there. And of course, we've got our fixed position one, as you can see right there. And again, that's linked to that same section. So there you go, guys. There's a few little ideas to use with your little call to actions. They're really versatile. They're great things to have on your site, especially if you've got something like this going on. It'll get people's eyeballs on it really quickly. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, pop them down below. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo like this one. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.